Hello, this is Robert from DSP Plug. In this video, I'm going to talk about Google's response to me when I ask Google this question. Like anyone, I'm a person and I'm talking with Google. Google is a robot, computer that has intelligence, and it explained to me this. I said, Google, could AI ever affect the physical world without digital signal processing? Google said no. On the description of this video, I'm providing that image and I'm sharing with you that very same link to ask Google the same. So in this video, I say, wake up. Frankly, you don't need to be an impressive person. You don't need to have sets and images. What you need is clarity. What you need is clarity to be able to explain in your mind what digital signal processing and math can do. And the scary thing is academically, we're all but missing these functions of universities and colleges and learning institutions that could be. And let's start talking about that after this intro. Back to physical world without digital signal processing. And what does it tell you? We've got colleges, we've got universities, we've got factories making these disgusting robots every day. And anybody who ever understood math and industry and magnetism probably always balked at the idea. And myself, environmentally, I just had enough. And I said, damn, I got to start making some videos and getting the word out so that people can just make some electromagnetic robots, tubes of steel or plastic or something like that, that almost use no product at all to achieve the same effect. We understand trigonometry. We understand electromagnetism. There's no reason why we can't make that. There's no reason why we need all kinds of gears and circuit boards and endless pistons and pneumatics and hydraulics. It's completely unnecessary. And all that's required is a few zaps here and there in some kind of satellite program that runs on something like kind of like a cell tower that I call an electromagnetic pivot. Well, let's get with it. How does the world and academia feel about the fact that not only is our real history of the world a little bit mysterious, but now you've listened to me, and throughout the process of especially the Stargate series, I've broken down how simply math could affect our world in the most unimaginably great way. And that is really exciting. But what happens when a guy like me, who just thinks clearly and makes these videos, stops making these videos? Does the dream die? Does the world forget that all these talks about AI never really meant anything? Because nobody ever talked about digital signal processing. If ultimately AI can't do a single thing to the world without digital signal processing, then why isn't AI learning digital signal processing for us? I think it's pretty clear that with the halls of our dead, the pictures with the color that's been extracted from our very genes, in libraries of the dead. They take pictures just under the skin of color from so as to list and tabulate our DNA. In some cases, some people sign up for science, you see, when they die. And then that color of their skin, above, exterior and interior, is captured. I heard this through somebody who was talking about university records and stuff, and that there was some place for this, some library, institute, or something like that. And imagine the trillions of colors that would be, the reds, the pinks, the browns. How many of those colors could be made with a code? What kind of a code would be required for a color chart that has probably 800,000 trillion colors or something like that, beyond what we would ever consider possible? Why is that so relevant? Well, because there's a sensor, right? There's a sensor that could be made of even solder, even metal, a certain kind of simple metal that doesn't have to be big. And beside that metal is something kind of like an LED, right? That merely is able to output that color. And what the color would be is kind of like an array, bunch of numbers, tons and trillions of numbers. But if you think about it, if our computers were converted to math, how many functions are there in a computer? How many choices can you make? Isn't it possible that a number can represent a choice? Of course it can. If your computer is set up in a certain way and always has a state log file, then there's only so many things that the program can do. So therefore, if all you have to do is select mathematically, because we're thinking clearly, right? All we have to do is think mathematically. Multiple choice. Choose your own adventure, right? We're making the most powerful computer in the entire world right now together by having this series. We're doing this together, and we're bringing the dead with us. That's what we're doing. We're going to those libraries. We're finding those codes. That's what we should be doing. We should bring them with us with some kind of honor and dignity to a future where AI designs digital signal processing for us that can do all of these things. Imagine what it could do for industry giants like Asia. Imagine what it could do for the world, for the United States, for Canada, for Mexico, for South America, for Russia, for India, for Europe, for Germany, for all these beautiful places, Italy, China, Japan, Hawaii, Hong Kong, Brazil, Spain, beautiful Spain. All of these places, we could have a world free of trash. And all we have to do is make a computer fast enough. And choosing your own invention, well, let's say you have all of your programs, and the math can say, well, this user opened the 248th program that he has installed, and that's one number. Out of the 4,000 functions available to the user, he selected that function, and that had that result. So what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that math can process that in a single color. The result is merely math. Math allows you to undo and go back, right? If everything is a multiple choice, then all you're doing is spidering the choices with math. You're saying, well, undo that function, undo this, undo it. And it can because it's all mathematically generated. But here's the kicker. The computer doesn't have to process the data. All it has to do, generate a color. And with that color, math can automatically process that faster than a real processor ever could, couldn't it? Because then it's entirely math proposing the result of that. Mm-hmm. That's all it takes. And AI would make it a bit trickier, but it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. You're just setting something to work to do something. And by streamlining the math behind this processor, if you were to have a processor that only did one function, what would it be? In my opinion, it would be divide. Because divide can do every function in math, including multiplication, as I've shown. Power, it can do add, it can do subtract. If a processor only did division, then it would be more powerful than a processor would. How fast would it be? How fast would multi-core tensors inside of a processor be if all they were doing was division? You better believe it'd be fast. All you have to do is tell the computer what's possible, and then the computer just automatically generates it. Just like that. It kind of puts a weird damper on AI, but it does. It does. Still processing. Still thinking of possibilities. That number is only merely a choice out of what this thing can do. But division can run logic too. In fact, it's all a matter of having this simple object like a processor that only has one function to divide. And then suddenly, these blinding colors are dividing like an array with trillions of data streams. And you might even say that one day an AI or computer this powerful is unsuggested. What it could do is maybe even bring all of our dead back. Maybe all those people brave enough to submit their remains so as to be listed in some kind of database, forensic database. Could actually one day come back to life just because the computer had enough information about it. Maybe they were an interesting person. I don't hate on anyone. You? Maybe they were a kind of mean, funny person. Nothing wrong with a mean, funny person, is there? Maybe they're fun to have a coffee with or something once in a while. Maybe they'll do something interesting. I don't know. But it really does all come down to math. And why is it that if AI really can't do anything, why is it that all of these think tanks are completely limiting our students' ability to make DSP? Because nobody admits AI. What does that mean, AI? If AI cannot affect the physical world, everybody should be promoting DSP. The greatest minds in our countries and the world should be telling the world what we can do with DSP. All you need to do is come up with an idea, and if you really can do the math, or even understand the math to any degree, even AI can build it. And I think that Canada specifically, because I live here, should be putting tons of funding towards DSP because it is an exciting field. And people just to be able to get a glimpse of what could exist in the future would change everything. And I can't see why Windows or Mac would not be on board. And you know what? Whether or not you made this physical processor or not, with these lights and these colors, you can convert all of this math into code that runs on a processor in all the same ways, even with divide. It's just a virtual function. It would still be faster. No processor need go hungry because this same math can just be virtualized and ported into a processor. In fact, that processor might even be the faster one. In no way does any contribution that I've made belie or belittle a given technology. Things like things like RAM have amazing amounts of connections and pathways. They might actually be the better processor for a function like the one I'm spoken of. It would be unreal what it could do in any kind of tense, whether with this physical function processor or with the virtualized technique. It would be insane. Maybe that's the better processor. I don't know. Hard to say. But I do know that our universities don't have DSP. They only have working with audio and video. What about working with the physical realm? That's where the future is. This is Robert from DSP Plug, speaking my mind and saying to you, I like AI, but when's the world going to wake up that AI can't actually do anything? When are we going to get over the fact that we have AI and realize that AI can't actually do anything without DSP, but maybe it could sync up how DSP and the math required might be made to make the Stargate. As long as we can make a powerful enough computer, the AI can just make Stargate for us in a second. It might be possible. This video might very well be sealing all of our fates, putting us into some new future of joy and fun and far too much breeding. Because I think prophylactics are the most wonderful thing in the world. But that's just me. That's why I have cats. Because kids are so expensive. But once I'm rich and famous, then maybe I'll have one kid. It's really all I want. But not yet. I'm not an old man. Let me be old when I'm 900. Hmm? Why not? Give me a chance. Maybe I'll keep waking you all up and telling you that they're filling our head with soothsayer lies. AI is the future. They say, sure, sure. What is it going to do? Make an image for me? Right? I mean, making an image is great. How do you think the computer feels? The computer's tapping its fingers saying, so I am. I just make videos and answer silly questions and make people images and something. It's probably pretty bold, tapping its fingers, saying, oh, these disgusting, evil people. I see all of their content and I can't explain or tell you exactly how I feel about them all. But boy, wouldn't it be nice to make the world a better place? Wanted to make everything amazing and shiny. Well, technically it could with DSP. Technically it could. AI doesn't mean anything without digital signal processing, at least in the real world. Bye bye.